Right, okay, we're live. We're live on Facebook with Karen from Sustainable
Hey.
Styling.
Hi,
Thank you for
Georgina.
coming over here. So, for those of you that end up watching, you might remember we were supposed to go live last week with Claire, but Claire's in the UK and it didn't work so well with the technical gremlins. Luckily, Karen's in Brisbane,
Yay.
so she said she'd come round and sit on my actual sofa, so we're doing it this way instead today. So I will just start with a short intro for Karen, and then I've got a few questions for you about balancing your job with sustainable styling and everything that you've gone through to get to this stage, and then what's coming up in the future for you. So Karen is the creative powerhouse behind Sustainable Styling. She's a fashion stylist with a strong passion for helping women feel great, look great, and do good with conscious fashion choices. Having spent nearly 20 years in the health sector, Karen's approach to fashion and styling is identifying and finding the links between the environment, education, and supporting the local retail economy. It's this unique approach that leads Karen's clients to successful and sustainable choices in fashion. Sustainable styling is about helping women feel good about themselves through what they wear and how they approach clothes spending, so they buy well, buy less, and break negative spending habits. Now,
Yes.
that sounds super interesting.
Yes.
I would really love to start by asking you how you've gone from, well, you're still working in the health sector, I know that. How did you go from your health sector career of 20 years to your passion business of styling, and not just any old styling, but conscious styling and sustainable styling? Because that's really interesting.
Well, the leap doesn't seem to be as great as it would first appear, and excuse my husky voice today, although it'll stop me pitching too high. Sometimes I get excited and my voice goes way up in the scale and I hear it back and go, ah! So I don't have that problem today, but I'm so sorry I sound this terrible.
I don't know, it's kind of sexy. The husky voice is kind of sexy.
Well, thank you, Georgina.
Okay.
So the leap wasn't that big, to be honest. Even though health and fashion seem like they're polar opposites apart, there isn't, because my connection to the two is that I've seen that there is a real synergy with self-care side of styling. Now, fashion styling can sound quite scary and intimidating, but I'm not coming at it from necessarily a high-end fashion design angle. Personal styling and fashion styling is really helping people find their own unique style, which is really important if you are setting up your own personal brand. You're already on your way to, or you're thinking about your personal brand. And we are in the age of personal brand. Whether we like it or not, everyone has an account now, whether it's a Facebook account, Instagram, Twitter account, and whether they're private or they're business accounts, it's still in a way a personal brand. They're still very kind of edited forms of ourselves, and therefore I think there's opportunity there to really explore more of what is your personal brand.
That's so true, and like we'll come on to talking about what really is a personal brand a bit later. But so you're working 3 days a week in your health sector job, and you're essentially running sustainable styling, I guess, on the not just the other 2 days, but you know, the other times during the week.
So for me, Georgina, I spent 20 years in the health industry doing a variety of different types of roles and skills, about a year ago, I just kind of felt like I was coming to a bit of an end road in my health career. If I wanted to jump into the higher roles, that was going to really mean moving more into kind of bureaucracy, more leadership and management, which is all great, but that comes with more hours, more stress. And I really could see the writing on the wall that actually the roles that I was once kind of eyeing off and thinking were fabulous didn't kind of start looking that fabulous to me anymore. And I also was looking outside my industry for other roles that I could maybe pick up my skill set and move it into a new industry to get some new injection of interest and motivation in my career. And again, I just kind of thought, well, is it worth leaving where I am, which has a really nice work culture, I still enjoy what I do, even though it doesn't probably appeal, like it's not singing to my creative soul. And I'll get to that in a second, but I was definitely kind of looking elsewhere, thinking, and again, coming to Dead Roads thinking, they kind of want everything these days, and they're not really paying that much for it. So that was another motivation for me to go, well, maybe I need to actually launch something myself and do something that I've always wanted to do. So it really wasn't something that I had, intellectualized a lot, but it was more of a feeling. It was more of a drive. I was just kind of getting this sort of voice calling me to really explore this. And I was looking at some styling sites, and I just happened to find an academy that I thought was a good fit for me. And that's really been the start of it. And I'm literally sitting on close to not quite a year in my sustainable styling business. And I'm as much as it has been in a lot of cases a painful process, it's a lot more painful than I thought, living your dream. However, it is still very worth it, and there are ways that you can have both. So I'm currently technically 4 days a week. I'm actually moonlighting as we speak on my lunch break because I'm working from home, but I'm actually doing this live session with you because, again, I have a little bit of flexibility, and I can do it. So it's great. I'm very much an opportunist at heart, which I think kind of suits an entrepreneurial side of business. And I think that that can be a key. So it's been, I haven't had a long journey in this space, but over the past, over my adult life, I think I finally found where I have always wanted to be. Going into a creative industry back in my early 20s was, fraught with risk, fraught with financial insecurity. And I had a mother who was like, get a career, get independently financial, and you're on your way, and everything will be clean sailing. It's not quite like that, but the areas that I really wanted to go into were actually not very healthy environments. I was very interested in the dramatic arts. I was very interested in the art space, but there was not the best culture in those. And, obviously the Me Too movement, and seeing what obviously even in the TV entertainment world, all that's unraveled in that space. There's nasties in every industry, but again, the creative industry back in the late 80s, early 90s was a very, very high risk place to be. And I took the safe road, and I've been reading a lot about, this whole idea of quitting your 9 to 5. And there's the word quit has got a lot of negative connotations to it. But also it's okay to play it safe. And that we were just talking weren't we, about there's more than one way to skin a cat. So you don't have to go all in. Yeah, you don't. That's right. You don't have to go all in. Safety, playing it safe is not playing down your dream. And we can get
exactly
to that as well.
You mentioned that it's whilst it's amazing and worth it to have set up sustainable styling, following your passion and everything, but it's also been a bit of a painful process. Can you tell us a bit more about what's been painful about it, and how have you managed to sort of get over those humps?
Well, you'll find this really interesting as a coach, Georgina, is that the pain points that I've experienced are probably the pain points that I've had all my life inside. Self-doubt, self-negativity, insecurity, you name it, we all feel it. And they're the things that have probably stopped me pursuing my creative side and hopefully my creative skills and talents that I feel like I naturally have a little bit of that inside me that I wanted to enhance with greater skills. I really do feel that, funnily enough, these things they've come out because I've now actually started to focus on doing something that is truly uniquely me, and really having to back myself 100%. And so all these pain points are pain points that I've experienced over the years, but you've been able to shut them away because you don't really have to explore it to that to that degree, because, you know, you've got the safety and security of a wage coming in and all of that. And so you can kind of cleverly, without even knowing about it subconsciously, just kind of keep diverting away from all of those.
Sweep it under the rug.
Sweep it under the rug. And I don't think anything will challenge you as much as being in an entrepreneurial business. And an entrepreneurial business really, in essence, is really backing an idea and seeing how it goes. You know, entrepreneurialism doesn't always come out of, you know, a lot of trialed and tested market research. It tends to be, you know, a dream idea that leads someone into really developing or inventing something in true entrepreneurial spirit. So, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. But in saying so, you know, saying that, you still need a lot of good business acumen in these days in order to sell your entrepreneur dream or brand, because there's a lot out there and it's a really competitive market, like with anything. But yet all those self-doubts have been always in me, and they've finally got some kind of, I'm now kind of unleashing them through some kind of mechanism that I didn't really have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. I think, you know, when you're launching something that's your goal, you know, your dream, your passion, it's so you, and it's so intertwined with who you are as a person, that if it doesn't take off, it's, you know, it puts you in a really vulnerable place, actually, doesn't it? To put yourself out there saying, this is me, this is what I love, this is what I want to do.
You put yourself out there, and then you finally get a little bit of a taste of what, you know, sometimes when someone becomes famous pretty quickly, and I'm not saying I'm famous in any way, but being out there in a public sphere, and then regretting that you may have said something or worn something or done something that is just kind of making you feel uncomfortable in yourself. I have to deal with that all the time. So it's really interesting that it's a scary place, because, you know, you've just got to make sure that you're doing it with the right intention, and that you're not there to try and in some way, like, it's true to your brand. I mean, my brand is not about trying to make the have-nots look worse. You know, I don't want to play down anyone. I don't want to upset anyone. I'm really just trying to do what ultimately makes me happy, and hopefully a lot of other people happy. And because my business is very much a social media, in the social media realm, it's really got to be social. And for me, I just try to keep it very happy, and I want to make people feel good. That's the whole point of me doing what I'm doing, is the why aspect is I want to make people feel good about themselves, and certainly, you know, break a lot of the myths around consumerism in fashion. I've been a fast fashion victim myself, and you know, it's not a happy place. Even though you do get, you know, little moments of happiness when you go and buy stuff, but in the end, it can all come crashing down. So, yeah, I might be rambling on here. So
no, there's lots of good stuff. There's lots of good stuff coming out that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to.
Yeah. The self-doubt is one of your biggest hurdles that you are going to have to deal with as you start your journey. And the ones that crumble under that self-doubt are the ones that just don't succeed. It doesn't necessarily mean you don't have an interesting brand, or that you're not talented, or that, you know, people don't like you. It's got nothing to do with that. It takes a really, I'm realizing how long it's going to take to really get a trusted brand out there, and that's okay. That's a good thing. Who wants to be trusted overnight? I mean, if you were trusted overnight, you'd be one of those, you know, fly in the night kind of people. And one hit wonder, and I don't want to be that. I would actually rather have true, genuine, trusting fellowship, if that's a word now, then and it's a privilege. It's a privilege that people can trust my brand and trust what I'm on about.
Definitely. So in terms of your job versus sustainable styling, have you got a time scale for going full time, or is that not something you're
That's a
Thinking
really
about it
good.
now?
No, I am thinking about it all the time, and it's a really good question. And it comes back to who I'm kind of getting advice from and who I'm listening to. So I'd like to put out there a guy called John Acuff, who's written a book called Quitter. And his idea, like when I first thought of, I'm going to go and live my dream, and I'm going to give up my job, and I'm not satisfied, but I'm not completely, desperate that I have to get out tomorrow. But I was thinking, I'm going to get out of here in a year. It's like, well, that's not going to quite happen. And I've got a lot of good evidence to suggest that actually the way to do this is not to give up your day job. But it's finding that day job, or having that day job that's a bit contained, that's a bit controlled, that allows you to find a really nice intersection between your brand, your dream job, or your dream business, or your dream life, and your 9 to 5. So that it's actually not focusing so much on how am I going to get out of it to fulfill my dream life. It's actually looking at it the other way. How can I make my 9 to 5 actually more appealing to my business, and what can I get out of it? What can my business get out of my 9 to 5? So for example, if you're working for an organization, but you're not necessarily in the marketing space, but obviously marketing is a massive space when you're in your own business and you have to do it all yourself. You might like to kind of, get to know that team a little bit better and get them to help you and talk to you about those sorts of things. So take those opportunities within your 9 to 5 job and try to get that really nice, the dots connecting, and go into your 9 to 5 job with the lens of your dream job. And I think that is probably the safest, but the most sustainable, being a sustainable stylist. And also that is what the gurus and the leaders are saying. And I was saying to you, Georgina, before we started, I really have a strong aversion to quitting anything. And I don't think sometimes when we do ditch or we do quit that 9 to 5, are we really quitting that for the reason of our business, or are we quitting it for some other reason? Is it because we're unhappy with maybe our manager, or unhappy with whatever? So just be really, really mindful of quitting anything, because I don't think quitting is the answer to anything.
Okay. So what does it need to happen then for you to be able to go full time in reality?
So for me, I mean, obviously financially.
Yes.
I need to be at a point financially where I can see that it is stable, it's growing, and I'm getting jobs, I'm getting clients. I have got clients, and I have got some lovely opportunities coming up. But again, it's still, your dream job is exactly that it doesn't come with a lot of safety and security in the initial phase. So it's building it up.
It's a lot of hard work.
It's a lot of hard work. For example, I went to an incredible conversation night with an visual artist called Megan McKean, and she's just done this incredible work for Brisbane called Bristopia. So she was commissioned by the Museum of Brisbane to do this really incredible, gorgeous, travel-scape of Brisbane, using her style, which is very kind of cartoonish and really cute. She's got great understanding of colour, and she's got a really good fashion eye as well. So she spoke, and I went along to her night. It's taken her 7 years, and she's had some really big clients, like not just the Museum of Brisbane, but she's had Melbourne City Council. She's written 2 books, one called Hello Melbourne, one for Sydney. So they're like travel/children's books. They're really cute. I have a lot of respect for Megan McKean, because another thing that she gave me, or was really advocating for, is that you don't need a lot of budget to have a clever business. And it kind of try to adopt that, those independent filmmakers that just get this film somehow reaching out to the mainstream market, but they do it on a shoestring budget when the Hollywood budget, can't even go anywhere near it from a creative and clever perspective. So kind of look at yourselves as an independent filmmaker that's just going to totally deliver on all of those, you know, all of those things. So again, she was kind of a little bit hesitant to just go and outsource for the sake of outsourcing, which can sound really easy at the time, but it's expensive. And sometimes you think, oh, well, you know, I'm sitting here putting all together this stuff when I should be doing this. But I think you do have to kind of, you know, suck it up in the early years and just do everything you possibly can to keep the costs down.
Yeah.
So I'm learning how to keep the costs down so I can hopefully do more of this in more of my time and, yeah, get it to a stable position. Timeline-wise, I'd like it to be sooner rather than later, but I'm also seeing the reality of how long it can take.
Yeah.
And for someone like her who's been doing it all her life, it's
especially if you're
her
breaking into a
7
new
years.
industry, right?
Breaking into a new industry, and it's a creative industry. So
definitely.
yeah, every industry is different. And I think you've also got to assess your level of risk internal, your intrinsic level of risk. I'm not a massive risk taker. I'm spontaneous, but I'm not a really big risk taker. And I just don't like the idea of, you know, just giving everything up for one thing without any guarantees.
Yeah, it's a toughie. But like you say, there's more than one way to do it. So fantastic.
Yeah.
So we met at a networking event, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, Queensland Leaders Networking event in Chermside, for the locals amongst us. And I have to say, you caught my eye across the crowded room. It's so cliched, but in a sea of sort of suits and boots, you stood out as a beacon of someone with a unique sense of style, with some colour and things like that. But you mentioned earlier on personal brands, and I would love you to tell us a bit more about what personal brands are and why they're so important in this day and age.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And obviously I know who I really admire, and I think who really, the people who I think get their personal brand and their style working as one. I've got some really good people in my brain, but I'm interested in hearing firstly from you guys, who comes into your mind, who does it for you? Who is that person that has a personal brand? It could be a celebrity, it could be someone in business, it could be someone in any other industry, it could be a chef, it could be anyone. It doesn't even have to be a celebrity, but someone sort of well known enough that we would go, oh yeah, we get you. So someone who has shown you that they somehow connect those two together. Are you guys up for sharing your ideas? Amy and Lisa?
Hi, Amy and Lisa. I wonder if they're still there or not, don't we? Anyway, share your ideas, and then they might chime in if they're still watching.
You know, we can look at guys and we can look at girls here. So Georgina, someone who I think just does a really good job of marrying her personal brand with her style is Amal Clooney. It doesn't matter whether she's rocking up to a royal wedding or she's stepping outside some, you know, high commission court. She is always Amal Clooney. But she obviously has to work in the most corporate end of law, and she still allows herself and her feminine style to come through, her feminine aspects to come through. She isn't scared of a bit of colour, and she's really brought her own personality and her own style into that area, into her space, and she's done that beautifully. And I don't think it's just because she's married to George. I think George is actually the trophy in that relationship. And so I actually think she's a really good example of someone who's been able to marry her personal brand and style. And she's challenging those corporate law, you know, environments, which I really love as well. And the other person who I think marries their personal style and their brand really well is Jennifer Aniston. So someone completely different. I'm not a big JA fan, to be honest with you, but I really love the fact that Jennifer Aniston is true to her natural style and her natural beauty and what she's on about. You know, she's a natural living girl. She's a yogi. She's into her nutrition. She's into her health. And when she steps out on the red carpet, she's never overdone. She really sticks to her true, unique brand and style, and you can see her personality. That's what she really wants to sell in herself. So what is it about you and your personal style that you want it to become your part of your personal brand? So for me, I like to be on the creative spectrum of fashion, but not to the point where I'm polarizing people. I like to be able to walk into the Queensland Leaders Forum, stand out, but not stand out in the wrong ways, or in the, appropriation is really important. It's all well and good to be inspired and aspirational in your dressing, but we do actually also have to find where that appropriation fits in as well. And that's where a stylist can help. So I do really think that if you're investing you're investing in your life and your time and your savings into developing a brand, or you've already got a brand and you haven't seeked out some expert and objective views and insights into your style, I thoroughly recommend it. Just like you would go and see someone about SEO, or like you would go and see someone about marketing, really having a stylist to give you a really good guide and help you set your own blueprint. I'm not going to say to you, this is what you should do, but just having a really good understanding of what your brand is, what messages you want to sell, and I think whatever you do, whether you're doing yoga retreats, to doing a book, to being an entrepreneurial coach, we want to have the best version of ourselves, but the most natural and authentic version of ourselves, with a little bit of polish and styling on the edges. And I think that way you've got the winning formula.
Fantastic. So how can we build our personal brand in a sustainable and cost-conscious way?
Well, sustainability isn't just about eco-fashion and ethical fashion, although they're the way forward. I mean, they're obviously the best picks as far as wanting looking at sustainability as a cycle economy, that you're actually doing more than just buying a piece of clothing. You're actually obviously advocating or supporting a company that does care about the workers, whether they're onshore or offshore, and trying to deliver at least minimum standards and higher. And so that can be sustainability to some people. Sustainability can also be in the fashion sense, and when you're buying clothes and you're buying accessories, is actually supporting local businesses. And again, they can be online and offline. I'm more of a fan of face-to-face, boutique, small independent chains. But, I work with whatever you're comfortable with as well. Excuse me.
We've both got coughs, sorry guys.
So again, sustainability might mean to you, it's finding out, well, what does it actually mean to you? I just want to wear ethical clothing. Great, that's your find of sustainability. For me, it's a little bit of quite a few things. So supporting local economy. It doesn't mean you've got to say goodbye to big brands, and this is where I'm a little bit different to a lot of the other ethical fashion bloggers out there, is that yes, we want to hold a global brand to account. Any brand that is a global brand actually has global responsibility to make sure that they're doing the right thing by people, plants, and animals. However, let's also not cut them too much slack, but realize that sometimes you can get really good bang for buck in Zara and in H&M, so long as you are going to ensure that it's going to give you mileage. If you're talking about buying for your brand, it's got to feed back into your brand. So make sure that whatever you're, as an entrepreneur, you have to be so resourceful and keep the costs down. So don't just go and buy stuff for the hell of it. Really think about, how is that going to relate back to my brand as well? Once you become an entrepreneur, it's a 24/7 hat that you're wearing. Even turning up to the coffee shop now, I actually have to make some kind of effort being a stylist. It doesn't mean I have to look like I'm going to the red carpet, but just for my own brand, I actually have to think now that it isn't just about running down the street. Luckily, you know, activewear you kind of get away with a lot in activewear, and that's part of my brand, so that's good too.
Especially as you're a yoga teacher as well.
As a yoga teacher as well. So yeah, getting back to sustainability, very important subject. And so getting mileage, getting good quality, and I also think if you really want to invest in building a wardrobe or a capsule wardrobe for your brand, the best way to do that is custom made, because no one else is going to have it. And like Georgina said, you're going to turn up into a room full of people and you will get noticed for the right reasons, because people are going to go, even the guys will go, what is she wearing? Not that they're going to go, oh, what label is that? But you're going to get noticed for all the right reasons. And you want to leave a really good taste in people's mouths. You want to be remembered, right? You want them to bring you back. So there's a lot more to it. And the last thing about sustainability, so of course, custom made is a great way to be sustainable. And my other big tip is op shopping and vintage buying, because you can save a lot of money. There's nothing more sustainable than upcycling, recycling, and now, unfortunately, in some ways, op shops have got a standard that they have to meet, and a lot of the clothes now have to be near new, which means, unfortunately, for people like me who love that real classic vintage fashion, it's probably going to be even harder and harder for me in a mainstream op shop to find, you know, an Armani jumper or, you know, coat or something like that, because the good vintage or the good designer vintage is there's lots of different shops doing that stuff now. And that's another thing. If you love your designer brands, don't get them brand new. There's lots of great places online and locally that do great secondhand designer clothes, so you don't have to miss out there as well. But yeah.
Fantastic. And for British watchers, an op shop is a charity shop. Just to let you know, we don't have op shops in the UK. We call them charity shops. So yeah, when I came to Australia, I didn't have any clue what an op shop was. Yeah, I do.
Opportunity shop.
Opportunity
there
shop.
You go.
Yeah, fantastic. So I can hear that your voice is going a little bit. I've just got one last question for you, which is, how can people find out more about what you do? Yeah. Where can they find you?
Thanks, Georgina. So you can contact me on my website, sustainablestyling.com.au. I've also got a free downloadable How to Be a Sustainable Fashionista. So please sign up to that, because when you sign up to my checklist, which is free to download, or you sign up to my monthly musings, you will get an instant 25% off my styling services. So I really hope to see some of you take that opportunity yourselves.
I'll put that in the comments for people.
So that the link is right there.
Yeah,
and just contact me via Instagram at Sustainable Styling, and on Facebook, Sustainable Styling, Twitter, Sustainable Styling.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for
for
spending your lunch hour with me and being the first one on my sofa.
Oh, fantastic. And look, I'm being a true entrepreneur. I'm literally moonlighting as we speak.
Yes, fantastic. Well, we'll catch up another time, I'm sure.
Yes.
But thank you very much. Thank you to Amy and Lisa who have watched some of this. For those of you who join later, I hope that you got everything you wanted. I'll be doing something like this every week with different entrepreneurs who are living their dream job in different ways. So there's lots of different things. They'll all be sharing tips and advice and strategies from their kind of zone of expertise. So I hope that you'll be able to join us for next week's one. Details to follow. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you.